This is FCTV, fan-controlled television. Programs created and produced for the fans, by the fans of fan-controlled sports and entertainment. As always, power to the fans. And now, it's time for the show.
You got that right.
Oh, yeah.
Time.
Darn right we are.
You darn tootin'.
You're boot scootin', you are.
This is the boot scootin' boogie of Fandom Podcast. Hi, I'm Kenny Stevenson.
And I'm Alex Enriquez, a real cowboy, not one of these fake ones who just dances.
Yep, it's all good. 44 wants to know where Johnny Manziel is. He's definitely not going to be on this show, but I'll tell you who is going to be in this show. People who exist and operate in the cape space. That is what we are here at the fan-controlled fandom show. We're talking about content that involves people wearing capes, whether they be superheroes, whether they be medieval or fantasy realm type elven creatures, or whether they're like, you know, force-sensitive people in space. We're going to talk about it, although decidedly absent from what we're talking about today. And there are no capes in the TV show Echo.
We are now in a capeless space, but our fandom remains as powerful as ever.
Yeah, just because there's no visible capes in this space today doesn't mean that people ain't still caping. You know what I mean?
Sometimes the fringe is in your heart, is what I think Kenny's really trying to say. Sometimes the real cape is the friends you made along the way.
Thank God. Thank you very much for saying this. I was about to say that. I was about to say that the real friendship, the real friends were the capes that you met along the way.
Yeah, you know, the old sea shanty.
Do we want to talk about the fact that I went to Galaxy's Edge now, or should we wait? Like, I mean, it's very much like it. You know, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's dive in.
So, you know, we're going to do all the normal stuff we talk about. Echo, we're going to talk about quick pieces of nerd news, all the things. I just would be remiss if I didn't say that 48 hours ago, I was fist deep. That's way too graphic. In Star Wars, the Galaxy's Edge. I was at Disneyland, and it was my first visit to Galaxy's Edge, aka Star Wars Land, aka the planet of Batuu, however you want to spell it or do it. I was there, and yeah, it was as amazing as hyped to me. You know, you always, I don't know if have you ever been to Harry Potter World in the Universal Studios?
I have several years ago.
My wife and I went before it opened up in LA. We went in Orlando, and gotta say, it was definitely not was not worth it. They've definitely made some changes now here in LA, and it's definitely wonderful. So there was a part of me, but everyone who I had talked to was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna absolutely go nuts." And I did. I went. You walk. That was the first place we went. We went like immediately at rope drop, which is what the Disney folk like to call it, at like 8 a.m. And then we went straight there. Went straight to the line for the Rise of the Resistance, which is the ride that everybody posts pictures about, where you see the stormtroopers and BB-8 and Rey talks to you, and I mean, good googly moogly. It like delivered, like even with all the hype, it's like 4 different steps before you were even actually on the ride. It was incredible.
That's what I told Kenny when he sent me that picture of him standing in front of the field of stormtroopers and the space dock to outer space. I remarked on the fact that like you're not even on like the ride yet when you get to that
I know.
Point, and you go through like several other experiences past that before you're actually like on the ride. But I mean, that is like the best thing. Even my wife, who's like, she likes Star Wars just fine, but is not a fan. She came off that saying it was the best ride she'd ever been on. She couldn't believe it. She like, I can't wait to take my parents. I think it's going to blow their minds. Like it's an exciting, like fully immersive experience. It's like, it's unlike anything ever.
100%. Let's see. We got Nerdy wants to know if we're doing any live picks or polls in the apps. No, we're not. Freddie Airmail is saying that will Kenny's internet let him down today. Freddie Airmail, let me just say this. If you missed the show a couple of weeks ago, we had a tech guy come to the house, fix the internet. I've not had an issue since. Nerdy
His
says
name was Patrick, and we interviewed him for a half hour.
Yeah, it was great. Incoming transmission. Oh, Nerdy says incoming transmission from Ray is the first OMG. Oh, absolutely. Like this ride,
Yeah.
you sit in line, and then you go into a room and where you're met by BB-8 and Ray, and then you go into another room where you walk outside. You go outside, and then you see Poe Dameron's X-wing with BB-8 in it. Then you get on this like shuttle, and you go in this shuttle that like I'm like, oh, okay, is this the ride? And then that shuttle, you're clearly like in an elevator just going down. You realize, I think when I was at Disneyland this most recent time, is that most of the rides are underground, like truly. Like you at some point you take some sort of elevator or you're walking underground when you're in the line or whatever. And then you get in this shuttle that takes you up, and then you get off that shuttle because you've been intercepted by the First Order, and then there's stormtroopers, and you go into another room, and then they're like talking to you, and then it's like finally they're like, okay, we're gonna get you out of here. Okay, now we're on the ride. Incredible stuff.
It's like template wise, it's a sort of a haunted mansion sort of thing where you have this series of experiences.
I think is a comp too.
What's that?
Indiana Jones in terms of the ride itself. I feel like that was what it was most like too.
Yeah. I just think that it's like there's nobody better than Imagineering at doing those kinds of experiences, and that ride is the best people in the world at the top of their game, like no holds barred, allowed to. I mean, I don't think it has a very big capacity. Like they like these rides to like move through a lot of people. And this one doesn't, but it's still like 20 minutes long. They let them make a 20-minute ride.
It's really
incredible. I'm like, I'm here. It's Star Wars. I'm in space. I did it. I finally did it.
We finally did it. A Nerdy says that he lives in Orlando and he's done Resistance 20 times, which, I mean, kudos to you. That's fantastic. If you wrote at the very beginning, the turret room where the turbo lasers are shooting out into space, those turrets used to move forward and back, and your vehicle has to actually dodge them. It was the biggest breakdown point of the ride, and they turned them off so they don't move. That's interesting.
I mean,
I would have loved to see that.
That's the other thing about any system as complex as this. I mean, like a trackless ride system to begin with is, because that's, I don't know if for people who haven't been on the ride yet, spoiler alert, part of what you experience is being in a little vehicle, like exploring within a Star Destroyer, and the sort of escapism is complete because you have no idea where you're going next. You are just in a laid out hallway. There's no tracks. So you can't see where you're going. There's plenty of times where they make these blind turns where you wouldn't expect. And that how interdependently things have to operate for all of that to happen seamlessly is like, yeah, they're going to have to cut some stuff, I guess, at some points.
Yeah, you know what? This lasers aren't working. We're going to have to cut the lasers. And then we still got like, people doing, wait a minute, we need to have someone go. Like, it's not a Disneyland ride if there isn't like somebody doing, don't you understand that we have to get moving?
Even, I think the animatronics were fairly good. What I really appreciated was like some of the hybridized stuff where there's like, there's an effect they do where Kylo Ren is walking toward you and he ignites his lightsaber, and
Incredible.
Kylo Ren is he's a projection, like that's a filmed image of somebody walking, but the lightsaber's there. The lightsaber is an animated prop that is swinging in the air, and like, yeah, I mean, you should watch a breakdown video of how they do all this stuff, because some of it is like, oh my god, they invented new stuff, and other things are like, that's a carnival trick from 1890.
Incredible. Nerdy says, yes, the First Order troopers do move if you watch them. I stayed there. I was the last person sitting in that room. Everybody was like walking along. I was like, why are we moving? I want to spend 45 minutes here. I want to get my Ronto burger and my blue milk, and I want to sit here and eat with these guys. And yes, one of them did turn their head. It was fantastic.
I don't ever go in for like nerdy, like getting into the moment. I'm way too uptight to let myself be uncool in my fandom, but
true. Same.
While we were moving through the experience, sort of being hustled around by, First Order troopers, I turned to my wife and said, I think I've got some friends that are going to get us out of this, or something. It just like came out of me, like in the moment. And she and smiled, and she's like, do you have something planned? I was like, just stay by me. I was like, what fun this thing brought out of me, the like uptight to like, I can't be a nerd. it was so, I don't know, like you got to be a kid without having any sort of limit to the imagination you could imbue in the thing. It's like, you're there for all intents and purposes. You are a prisoner of the First Order.
Yeah. And the thing that's so cool about it too is, I mean, we haven't even, that's just the one ride. And I know I don't want to take up all this time on this, but like, you know, you do that and then you go around the corner and then, there's a life-size thing of the Millennium Falcon. And look, there's Chewbacca and Rey out front. We got to get a picture with Chewbacca. And then you go on a ride in which you drive the Millennium Falcon. And when the Millennium Falcon goes into hyperspace, I almost like exploded with joy. It was just like, I mean, we had done it. You do the hyperspace jump in Star Tour, which is still there, but like the fact that you just like being in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, incredible stuff.
For a couple of moments, would you say you became a jizz whaler?
I was, if for those of you who don't know, the music of Star Wars is called jizz music, and people who play it are called jizz whalers. And that, let me tell you something right now, I was whaling my jizz there. It was fantastic. And speaking of jizz, whaling my jizz, I then had some blue milk, which you can get.
Oh, yeah, you did. You did.
You can get blue milk or green milk. It's basically just like coconut milk slushy. But I was like, sure, give it to me. It just was the best. It was the best. Fan control prison experiments. Yep. FCPE.
Man, you know what? Freddie Airmail is on. I see this. He sparked a watch streak because he's done 15 consecutive streams this month. And that must have imbued him with the power to literally call out something that's in one of the sponsor messages this week. So Freddie Airmail is operating on a whole different level.
Next, we haven't even gotten to the sponsor. We haven't even gotten to quick hits, but we're about to right now. Here's the stinger. Quick hits. For those who don't know, this is the quick pieces of nerd news. And since we spent 12 minutes talking about Galaxy's Edge, this is going to be a quickie quick hits, which is okay.
You're lucky it wasn't more.
You're like, we could do a whole 2 hours on it, which is okay. Surprisingly, there's like not like a giant amount of like earth-shattering news in the Cape space this week. Our first piece of news, because we're going to be talking about Echo later. One of the main characters in that show was Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, who is also going to be in the Daredevil show. He confirmed this week that, which is something is not very, like, I think it's part of the restart. He said, during our restart of all creative on Daredevil Born Again, all of the creators got together and said, look, this is how we've got to do it now. So we are for sure only speaking about it in terms of being directly connected to the original Daredevil. And that's a great thing. It brings in a lot of cool stories and all the collateral story that happened in those original 3 seasons. So now we get to start this Born Again situation with all of that history behind us and the outcome of all that history. So we're all talking about Daredevil Born Again in those terms now. So that means when they had done a lot of work on this show, they were operating in a place where it was like almost like a soft reboot, I guess, that's a big swing that they were going to try to take. But I mean, no brainer now, especially since that probably means that Daredevil scene in Echo was probably shot like a week before it was released.
Yeah. That's you know what? That's the mighty Marvel machines. It's like we talk about building the cars, you're driving it.
Yeah, they're really doing that in this case. Do you have any affinity for the Daredevil original series?
Yeah, I mean, when it first
I did it again. My door was open behind me. I got to close that door. Hold on.
Good gravy. Look. Hey, okay. So everybody, when he gets back, let's all switch seats. Let's all be in different seats. Okay, hold on. Let's all get in different seats. You won't notice.
Sorry.
You won't notice. Hey,
what did you do? What did you do? You said he won't notice. He won't notice. I heard that part of it.
Oh, I said while you were up and you weren't looking, I got everybody switch seats.
Oh, well done. Yeah, sorry. Do you have any affinity for the Daredevil series?
I mean, yeah, that first season was such it was shot out of a cannon. I remember not knowing what to expect, and then stuff like that hallway fight, and
unbelievable, right?
Yeah, how hard it was willing to go. And I said this before. I think the one thing that those series suffered from in that era of Marvel was their purposeful detachment from the main MCU. And now that's what people are craving. That like that level of story, that avenue, like building out that thing, maybe just, you know, take your foot off the goo gaga gas pedal for just a couple of seconds,
The
Kevin.
goo gaga gas pedal, baby. Yeah, there's definitely more. I have some thoughts about this in regards to talking to Echo, but you know, it's a decent kind of pivot just to be like, you know what, we're gonna, all these things that we did on Netflix that were kind of like more contained stories, those are all canon MCU now. Done. We did that because we put Daredevil, we put the Echo timeline specifically into the Daredevil timeline, and you know, they make references in both Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. They make references to like how New York's already been through a lot, because most of the shows take place either before or after the first Avengers movie. So there's some like talk there, but yeah, it to me, yes, I don't quite understand why they had done so much work to like just not use 3 seasons worth of information. It's just kind of weird, a weird choice. And that was cool. It's cool if they were trying to do, and this goes into like something in Echo real quick, but just where was that one shot from Echo when they a Kingpin from Hawkeye when he was wearing his like Hawaiian shirt and white jacket with a white hat. That's like a really kind of comic accurate Kingpin, and just like kind of how ridiculous that kind of looked when you see how they've had him costumed for all of Echo, because that's how he was costumed on the Daredevil show. So yeah, this is all like, I can't believe we weren't just doing this from the jump, but apparently that phase 5 is now definitely like, how can we course correct everything we've been doing in a real chill way? That seems to be what phase 5 is now.
I think it's probably a good thing to do to like really reassess how every single piece of the franchise affects the franchise. Like, we've talked about these spotlight shows. Maybe the main thrust is that they're not going to push your phase forward, right? Like Echo is really contained. It doesn't, we don't introduce Wolverine in a post-credit sequence. We don't, there's no big, huge swings. It's all about her and this thing, which I think is a strength of the show. And I think that'll be the strength of things going forward. And you'll probably get things like the Netflix approach again, naturally. These sort of different verticals of continuity. Like I think they were emulating something that Marvel used to do called Marvel Knights, which were certain themes of story with certain kinds of characters that were wishy-washy in terms of their effect on continuity. They weren't pushing the main thing forward, but there was still a connection between what was going on in that broader universe and the characters you were reading about in the Knights comics.
Deadpool 3. I was going to say Deadpool 3 now takes place in an apartment.
Yeah. And it's there's like 45 minutes about like there's a sock and there's socks missing.
Yeah, it's like everything is like spotlight. We're getting real ground level here. Everything's great. Now watch our next piece of content that's going to absolutely have 45 million, all the, I can't think of the word, surprise people, cameos. Thank you. We got that. Yeah. All the cameos you've ever wanted, and Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine in a comics accurate out, like just like straight, like we're just going to be street level for, I don't know, 3 months, and then we're going to be right back into pedal to the metal onto the Guga.
A 15-minute mini on Disney Plus of Charles Xavier calling his mom, and they'll be like, "That's what the universe is now." And then
that's what it is now, and it's like, "Hello, mother." That's my Patrick Stewart. You're welcome.
Mama.
Mama. Hello. Speaking of Guga. Apparently, according to the director of the movie, Gil Keenan, who's one of the co-writers of the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, he was one of the co-writers of the Ghostbusters Afterlife. This movie is apparently huge. Big movies. I don't think people realize how big it is. And in What Happens, Annie Potts, a.k.a. Janine Melnitz, is going to, pictures of her came out this week of her in a Ghostbusters outfit with a full name that, you know, Janine Melnitz from my staff is, to quote the line from Ghostbusters 2. Annie Potts is apparently going to be like busting ghosts, which I can only assume is going to upset the trolley part of the Ghostbusters fandom.
Annie Potts is a treasure. I'm glad we're getting another lap with her. And I think what it really begs is, how long do we got to wait until Mr. Rick Moranis comes back around?
Thank you for saying it. That's the thing. We're getting short-haired Ghostbusters 1 Janine Melnitz. I want Bob Ghostbusters 2 making out with Rick Moranis. I mean, come on, let's do it.
Yeah, Rick Moranis, whatever else he does in his career, he can put his feet up on the scene in the courtroom in Ghostbusters 2 where he says, I turned into a dog and they helped me. It's beautiful. He's a beautiful man. I hope he brings all his Yiddish cowboy songs to set. I want to see it.
Yeah, let's do it. It's all part of that estrangement order, that thing that she just handed me. He crushes that.
Yeah. He's real good.
There's no malice. There's no malice or ill intention. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, no, of course not. It's best. Yeah, so this is stuff that, like, I love that they're just doing it, whatever. Put all these, like, I mean, Bill Murray's got to be close to 80 years old. Put him in whatever. Have him running around, you know, fighting. There's a picture, too. It's pretty classic that was released this week. And it's like, you can look in the picture, the level of, like, who is, like, all in to keep doing these characters. And it's like Dan Aykroyd is at front, and he is just, like, they're, like, running away from something. And he's, like, got intensity. And then Annie Potts is like, oh my gosh. And then Ernie Hudson's kind of stoic. And then Bill Murray looks like he could not be bothered to even get into like a trot. He's very much like, oh, his face is pretty classic. Like, oh my God, I can't, because he was the one who held up like a Ghostbusters 3 up for as long as he was the one who refused to do it for years and years and years and years. I don't know how they've been able to get him to do both of these movies, but I'm sure they found a big enough truck of money they could back up to in front of his house. Which I'm shocked
trucks of money this time.
Well, I think also too, it's like, I don't think his phone is ringing as much. So when somebody's offering him a payday, he's got to take it now at this point, I think.
There's probably some kids that still need to get put through college, I'm sure, somewhere. He definitely looks, in the picture, he very much looks tired. Mentally, he's in a VO booth for Garfield, like definitely a million miles away.
Come on, Chris Pratt's Garfield now.
Oh, that's what he's wistful for those days. Now he knows it's past.
That's right. He's like, why did I lament those? That was a cash cow. We should have made 40 of those.
And we've kind of conjured this. We would be remiss if we didn't point to everybody the idea that Bill Murray originates the role in Ghostbusters that Lorenzo Music plays in the cartoon, and Lorenzo Music originates the role of Garfield that Bill Murray then plays in the movie.
I thought Dave Coulier did Bill Murray's voice in the cartoon.
I'm pretty sure it was Lorenzo Music.
Well, Dave Coulier, I got to look it up now. Though that's what Gil Keenan said. He specifically, when writing this movie, used the real Ghostbusters cartoon as like an inspiration, because the cartoon got really wacky and goofy with a lot of the ghosts, because these are ghosts and they're, whether you think ghosts are real or not, but that's apparently what they're leaning in, and hence we're getting like Frozen Empire, which I still think is an absolutely Guga name for a Ghostbusters movie. But
if you look up the writing credits on the average episode of the Ghostbusters animated television series, you'll see legit figures in the television writing community years later, and professional comic book writers like J. Michael Straczynski is in there. I think Len Wein is in there. Here we go. Sorry. I think here's the thing. You want to know who's right in the Dave Coulier Lorenzo Music argument? Was Dave Coulier? Yeah, hit me.
We're both right. Because
that's the best answer.
Yeah, 62 episodes, Dr. Peter Venkman is voiced by Dave Coulier. And then for 78 episodes, Dr. Peter Venkman is voiced by Lorenzo Music. So from 86 to 87, it was Lorenzo Music. And then for the 87 to 91, Dave Coulier. And here's another big fact here. Sorry, guess who voiced Winston Zedmore?
Who?
You're never gonna guess it. I'm just gonna tell you right now. But it's Arsenio Hall. He voiced Winston. I did not know that. Incredible stuff.
And at a time when I don't think he needed to. Wasn't he bigger than that?
87? He might have been like a year or two before. I feel like 89 is right around the time his talk show came out.
Hit us in the chat and let us know what year Coming to America came out. And then do yourself a favor and look up the copyright struggles over that movie. He was definitely Coming to America. I think it might have been the same year. I don't know. You know what else came out in the 80s? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh, yes. That's true. 88 is the answer we're getting as to when Coming to America came out. All right, there we go. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure came out around 1988. We got Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in 91. Cut to pandemic year, everyone's favorite year, 2020. And
yummy. Give me more.
Bill and Ted Face the Music was the third one that was released digitally. One of the like 10 movies they released digitally instead of releasing in theaters, and maybe like some theaters. Did you see Bill and Ted Face the Music?
I did. I need to see it again.
I'd like to watch it again too. I enjoyed it though.
Yeah. Oh, it was funny. I mean, like really keeping in the tradition of those comedies.
Yeah, and it's always great to see like Keanu playing like, I think like everybody's idea of who Keanu is before John Wick was basically Ted, because even when he wasn't in a Bill and Ted movie, he still kind of had, even when he was in Point Break, he still kind of had the same way of talking. So, but then to see him back in character was just wonderful. Well, anyway, I bring this up because Alex Winter said they're in development on the fourth one.
Hit me with that rhythm stick. Let's do it.
Yeah. There's no script yet. He said it's just in the like planning stages, but he definitely has like, there's an idea, they're developing it, it has potential, they're moving on, and there's people who are writing it. He calls the writers super talented. They feel the same way. It has to be right. We love the movies because they're oddball and they're kind of typical mainstream films. They've never been a crash grab. So what we really want to do is make them sincerely from a place of love and interest. I don't know. He said it's a really good idea the writers came up with for a fourth that's kind of obvious. I don't want to give it away, but it's a really great idea and kind of an obvious idea. I don't know what that is, but I'm here for it. Let's do it, man.
Hologram George Carlin.
Digital. We did it. So the numbers on Bill and Ted Face the Music, it did well, pulling in a reported $32 million from video on demand sales, another $6.8 million in the box office when not a lot of box office was open. And I can't imagine that movie cost more than 20. So I figured that's doing a good job.
They're one of those great little productions that I think gets a lot out of a little. Consider the execution of a big, if you're planning out the production of your movie, big time travel scene sticks out. But one of the big tentpole time travel scenes is one where they go, hey, we'll just do this in the future, and all the stuff is there.
That is one of the funniest conceits in a time travel movie, because the logic loop of that is where all time travel kind of falls apart. But they just
dismantle it and show it to you right there is perfect.
And then like, we should go back and put a key. Well, are we going to do it? Well, look, we did it. Great. And it's like, great.
I'll put a bucket up there that'll fall on his head. Also, if I may, in Bogus Journey, when Keanu Reeves' character's dad, Keanu Reeves has possessed his dad. And then the actor playing his dad's walking. When he goes to do the guitar solo mime thing, it comes out like jazz guitar. makes
solid.
me absolutely double over every time. They're so
solid
funny.
Freaking movies, solid movies that like get the joke or leaning into it hard. It's great movies. Anyway, another great movie that we absolutely loved so much. I just want to bring this up real quick. Got two little quick pieces of quick hits. The Godzilla -1, a movie that was easily one of the top films of 2023, like not even a question. The most profitable Japanese language film in U.S. history, Godzilla -1, a movie that's made like $60 million in America. It's made over like 7 billion yen globally. I don't know how that translates, but I know that translates into cha-ching. They did release in Japan a version. It's called Godzilla -1. I think it's called, minus color. And it's a black and white version of the film they released in Japan. They just announced this week they're going to release that in the States. And I'll tell you what, take my money. I will watch that movie again in black and white. Yes.
I'll check it out. I mean, like color was so gloriously deployed in that movie that I'm at least curious to see what that eye will do with
do me a favor. Go watch the trailer for the black and white version and you will be in. It's great. It looks really great.
Okay.
Because the movie's good. So all I needed was like, is that gonna look any good? And I watched the trailer and was like, okay, great, done. One more piece of news here. We've been talking about the casting for this Minecraft movie, the movie that is about a game show about building that has added Jason Momoa, Jack Black. This week they added Jennifer Coolidge, Kate McKinnon, and Jermaine Clement to star in this movie. So this is a movie that has Jermaine Clement, Kate McKinnon, Jennifer Coolidge, Jack Black. I mean, just absolutely stellar comedic talents. And, Captain Scarf himself, Jason Momoa. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say like I know where they're going, but clearly this is going to be a comedy.
Right. I mean, I keep citing in reference to this movie, the Lego Movie. I think that's right where they're going to go. I think it's even including the kind of commensurate product IP cameos, because Minecraft is a game that has all sorts of licensed skins and whatnot in it. So you'll definitely be able to kind of integrate whatever cross IP you want for some fun.
Aquaman coming to Minecraft. No, I think it's gonna be fun.
Right now he's just breathing hard.
Yeah. I don't know. No idea what the movie's gonna be. And I appreciate, I think we talked about this when we talked about it to begin with, is that like with these movies, Barbie, Lego Movie, Minecraft, they're using these IP as jumping off points to sell us to tell a story. And so you don't just like put these funny people in and just have them do bits. You have to kind of tell a story. And for those of you who are looking for a darker Zack Snyder style Minecraft movie, you're not going to be getting it. So just move along.
Yeah, the Ender Dragon isn't gonna look up at the main character and say Martha. That's an inside thing for people who've played Minecraft and seen Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice.
There we go. We're on the Fan Controlled Sports Entertainment Network, the Fan Controlled Sports and Entertainment Twitch, YouTube. We're currently streaming on Facebook right now. I mean, tell all your friends on Facebook to come watch us. And we're on the X, all of everyone's favorite social media platforms. And we like to give one piece of sports news every week. Alex, take us out to Formula One open wheel racing.
Well, we have more on the hiring of Haas team principal Ayao Komatsu. He promises a more reserved and what this reporter will call racing forward approach to the floundering backmarker team. While Steiner had a bombastic character, Gunther Steiner, the former Haas principal, that lent itself well to Netflix's Drive to Survive, made him kind of a showcased character on that popular TV show. Komatsu has indicated that he's only going to fulfill the bare minimum of his contractual obligation to the producers as they film their final season. He argues that this sort of promotion is someone else's job. And as team owner, Gene Haas is more and more outspoken about the team separation from Steiner. It leaves this race watcher wondering, is Gene Haas jealous that Gunther Steiner's profile may be higher than that of the team he formerly managed? Only time's going to tell. Kenny, back to you.
So many names there. Gunther could have just been making them all up. In my sports news is in news that is only important to maybe two people, me being one of them. I went to California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo. The only NBA player we've ever produced out of Cal Poly is one David Nwaba. He played for the Lakers. He played for the Bulls. He's played for the Rockets. He was in need of a job and was signed to the British Basketball League this week for the London Lions, already one of the top teams in the British Basketball League, making noise now, playing in European play, playing against other teams in Europe. London Lions making a big splash, already adding an NBA player to their current NBA player, Sam Decker, who was MVP of the league last year. And I'm very excited to see David Nwaba, as a fellow alumnus of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, back on the court. Wow, we did it, and we both sounded like we were seasoned reporters while doing so.
Go banana hammocks. That's what I say.
That's what we are.
The
Cal Poly. Yep, the banana hammocks, and it's everyone has them. They hand it to you when you walk in for your first day.
You have to.
Alex, I know you probably don't wear a banana hammock, but I do know that you're out and about finding us corporate sponsorship for the week. Who's our corporate sponsor, our corporate underwriting? Who is that? Who is taking care of that for us this week?
So it's an interesting opportunity for some of our watchers if they want to take up the University of Los Angeles Human Labs. They've partnered with us to announce some of the clinical studies and trials that they're performing there at the laboratory. So the first they want to talk to us about is the vitamin absorption study. Participants will receive varying levels of vitamin supplements to measure their efficacy. Participants will be compensated with a whole mess of loose vitamins. They're having a sleep study. They want to study the effects of low-level ambient light on the sleep disorder. And it says no nerds. And lastly, for this break, they're seeking cisgendered males between the ages of 20 and 35 for a masculine shame study. Participants will remain anonymous. So come on down and let us take a peek at that little peeper of yours, Mighty Mouse. So that's the University of Los Angeles Human Labs. They're trying to build a better tomorrow with you.
I love that. I know where Cal State LA is. I know where UCLA is. Where's University of LA?
It just says upstairs.
Fantastic. I can't wait to hear more about the University of LA. Just like I'm sure our fans are chomping at the bit to hear more about Echo. We are here. We are still echoing. Yep. We are still echoing. Echo was a show that was released all 5 episodes on January 9th. Here we are 10 days later. We talked about the first 2 episodes last week. We're going to talk about the last 3 episodes today. I'm going to do a recap, and everyone pray for me as I try to keep this as short as possible. I'm going to recap 3 full episodes of television. Are you ready?
Hold on to your butts.
All right. Episode number 3. Tucklow, directed by Katrina McKenzie, the only episode not directed by Sidney Freeland. In a flashback to late 1880s, Tucklow practices shooting with her father, one of the light horsemen. Despite wanting to be a light horseman, her father forbids this due to her gender. Tucklow's father rides out to confront some local criminals while Tucklow braids her hair like a Choctaw warrior. Basically, she shaves her father. Scully, in the present day, Scully is visited by Chula, who encourages her to reach out to Maya. Maya receives a sudden vision of Chaffa, Loak, and Tucklow, and is captured by Henry's employee, Vicky. Vicky is revealed to be in allegiance with Fisk, having tipped off the organization to Maya's location. He holds both. Everyone's basically held at it says Henry's bowling alley. Watch the show, Wikipedia, at the frickin' roller skating rink. Basically, he holds Henry and Bonnie hostage in the roller skating rink. Maya saves them. It's then revealed that Fisk is there all of a sudden. And then in the next, I'm doing the best I can. Episode 4, Taloa directed by Sidney Freeland. In 2008, it opens on a young Maya who is verbally abused by an ice cream vendor who fails to understand her request for ice cream, and enraged Fisk retaliates by brutally attacking the vendor. Although Maya witnesses this, she shows no fear or any sympathy towards the vendor. Several years later, Maya is about to begin working for Fisk when he offers a final lesson: they can only trust one another. We then cut back to the scene of Maya and Fisk. Fisk gives Maya an augmented reality contact lens so they can communicate without an ASL interpreter. Fisk tells her that he will give her his criminal empire if she agrees to return with him to New York, giving her one day to decide. Maya shares this with Henry, but receives an abrupt vision of her ancestors at the Choctaw Powwow Festival grounds. Chula receives the same vision. Henry takes Maya to see Chula, who tells her that their ancestors helped them when they need it most, recounting a vision that she received when giving birth to Maya's mother. Maya leaves in anger, feeling abandoned by Chula as a child. Chula later begins to work on a special garment. That night, Maya goes to Fisk's hotel with the intention of killing him, revealing to her that he killed his father after seeing him beat his mother. Fisk tells her to make good on her threat if that's what she needs, but she rejects this. He repeats his invitation to join her in New York, but is enraged to find out the next morning that Maya has left Tamaha without him. Finally, episode 5, Maya, directed by Sidney Freeland. In a flashback to her childhood, Maya hits a woodpecker with a slingshot. Toa reprimands Maya for hurting an innocent life, and with her hands glowing, heals the woodpecker. Later, the two release it back into the wild. Biscuits, the character, messages Maya that Chula and Bonnie are missing, and she returns to Tamaha. She quickly visits Chula's home and is met by a vision of her mother, Taloa. Taloa tells her that she is the embodiment of their people's legacy, and that this legacy will echo through her actions. Wink, wink. The vision ends, revealing Chula's finished garment. At the Choctaw Powwow Festival, Maya locates Fisk, who has kidnapped Chula and Bonnie and threatens to kill her entire family for betraying him. Biscuits incapacitates Fisk's men with a monster truck while Henry kills Zane. Maya shares her Choctaw powers with Chula and Bonnie, who overpower Fisk's men. Using her powers, Maya takes Fisk to the memory of his father beating his mother in an effort to heal his trauma and help him let go of his anger. Returning to reality, an outraged Fisk demands to know what she did to him and leaves the festival before the police arrive. The next day, Maya says goodbye to her family before leaving Tamaha. In the mid-credit scene, Fisk watches with interest a news story about the lack of frontrunners in the New York mayoral elections. I did it. I need to take a break from talking. Alex, what do you think of the remaining episodes of Echo?
Well, I agree with commenter Alex Enriquez, who said Kenny Stevenson for president.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, and there it is. I love these guys are hot in a romantic way. Yes, I agree.
Why did it do that twice?
I'm here for it. No, I know. I think Jess put that up live. We have the option to do that, so that's fine.
Oh, well, I was just messing around. I think that was a 5-star recap. Those 3 episodes were like pretty righteous, man. I really enjoyed how this show wrapped up. I will say, like, I'm always a little disappointed when I feel like a show is going to wrap up or a movie's going to wrap up without any Guga. Like, are they, they're going to get a little bit of powers or whatever. And I know she had some early on, but they like really went for it toward the end. And I really enjoyed spending time in this place they built, the world of Oklahoma that they have with her family. Like
Atlanta for Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, sometimes I think they did some stuff in Oklahoma.
I mean, like aerial shots. The whole production was in Atlanta.
Wow. I liked, to be honest, one of my favorite moments was probably like how cinematically they shot the powwow. That, is beautiful. Like, it's beautiful imagery. And I think that's on this big mainstream show, this beautiful image, and it's all like in this tense counterpoint with this big action sequence. I thought that was really cool. I got emotional. I was invested. It was really something. I really had a good time. I like her costume. And I like her. She has so much presence. Alakwa Cox has like just
unbelievable,
just absolute like magnetism presence. I don't know how else to say it. Like she's got it.
Moxie. I agree with pretty much everything that you're saying. However, before I go positive for the rest of the episode, we had positivity corner or positivity wing before we did Rebel Moon. Can I go to negativity corner for like 5 minutes on Echo?
Oh, I know how much you hate Native Americans, so this is going to be very rough.
Has nothing to do with that. I would say I would say the biggest strength of the show is the way that it handled all of the representation, the way that they handle the representation of the indigenous people, not just their history, but not just their culture, but how they interact currently. The way that I feel the way that people with living disabilities are represented is amazing. The way that women are represented is amazing. Their representation on the show is absolutely top notch. If I'm going to go to negativity corner for a little bit, not too long, I promise I won't stay too long. So this show had some notorious like rumors of how being a very tough shoot and things not working out and things testing. I personally felt with these 3 episodes, as much as I enjoyed watching them and enjoyed the experience and thought they were all, well shot and the characters are great, I felt like we were moving a little too fast. And there was a lot towards the end. I had more questions than I feel like I got answered. And I feel like to me, it was indicative of like, they had more, but for whatever reason, people didn't, either it was the execs or Disney, whoever didn't like it. And so that stuff was removed just to make it lean and mean and lean in on the stuff that's really, really working, which is everything I just outlined. What do I think is not working? The plot to me at times was very surface level, was very much like, especially after there's a whole episode, the episode that takes place in basically almost the entire episode, which is episode 3 in the roller skating rink, I thought was great. I'm totally enjoying this, but I don't know how much that moved the story forward other than Fisk is coming to get you, which is kind of like been the second you see Fisk, we know that that's going to happen. So that didn't really, and then I felt the way that they treated the character of Bonnie, who is, I want to shout out the actor. She's from Reservation Dogs. She's an absolutely wonderful performer. Devery Jacobs, and she voiced the indigenous character on the What If episode. I just really don't feel like, as much as I just think she's a wonderful performer, I don't really fully got the I didn't get the wrap up of the relationship that I wanted. Like, to me, like, it was very much like, oh, Bonnie, we didn't even really talk to her that much. It was like she was there working at the fire station, and then the next time we saw her was like she was kidnapped, and then they talked a little bit. There's all great stuff in there, and then that's kind of it. And then it's like, oh, she's kidnapped again. So she was very much just kind of like bait the whole time. So there was, I don't know, like, so between that and then I just didn't feel like everything kind of felt surface level. I wanted to have more depth there wasn't like a scene of her like making up with her grandma. There was that great scene of her like fighting with her and telling her that I needed her, but I wanted to have that same level of intimate acceptance between the two of them as there was this great like denial between the two of them. You know what I mean? I wanted to have that kind of counterpoint to that, and we didn't get it. We got this kind of wrap up ending, which to me felt very tagged on, of her just like showing up to the barbecue and going like, hey everybody, and like that's it. Like, so that's kind of like where those my kind of issues with the show was that to me. And because of that, when I think about the fact that this is only 5 episodes, which is an episode number they've never done, it's very weird to do an odd number of episodes. So that just, to me, it was hard for me to not think towards the end, because I didn't feel basically and I had an idea for a fix. This is what because to me it was very much like, she didn't kill Fisk. Fisk is coming to get her. That's it. That's basically, and then he offers her what she wants, but she doesn't want it. But because I wanted to have a stronger connection of her feeling like she needed to be that representation of the Choctaw warrior that we were getting. And I don't feel like we got that strongly related as well. Here's my quick fix that I would do. And I'm whatever, a middling writer actor in Los Angeles. So take this with the grainiest of salts. So it took place 5 months after the end of Hawkeye. You could have had her. She shot Fisk. She thinks Fisk is dead. And she clearly was like, knew that at some point, like, her hometown had some sort of tie-in. And I guess we was loosely kind of said about that there's a train. They use trains to send stuff to him. because they're Fisk trains. Why couldn't she have been like going from New York across the country, like shutting down, blowing up different Fisk facilities across the country, and then she's like, where's the next one? Like, has some person like getting information out of them at the very first episode? Where's the next one? Oh, it's in Tomahawk, Oklahoma, or whatever. And then she's like, oh crap, that's my home. You know what I mean? And then she goes home. And you just add that to the top. I think that would have added a lot of weight. Okay, that's me getting off negative. That's my beef about this show. That being said, I found all the episodes incredibly watchable. I found them, at no point was I bored. At no point was I did I see a lot of cracks in the my cracks were in the story. I didn't see any cracks in the filmmaking. Like, you know how like I think we always reference Secret Invasion. It seems to be kind of like the bar now for what how Marvel can screw these things up. I think of like well, I just think of like that scene of when the president of the United States is being brought into like a medical facility and there's like 3 people there. You know what I mean? Remember that scene? There's like 2 Secret Service. And then like Samuel L. Jackson just was, and I understand it's COVID, whatever. Like, have the chopper outside so you can have 35 people there, or whatever you're allowed to have during shooting during COVID. And then it makes more sense. But just to see like 3 people standing there in a hallway and it's the president of the United States was like wild. But this, I never felt that way in the filmmaking of this. I thought the filmmaking of this was great. And again, the performance. I mean, let's just like take the rest of the time to talk about her. Unbelievable. She is just an absolute find, diamond in the rough. The fact that she represents all of the representation that this character has is incredible. I'm going to stop talking. Alako Cox, thoughts?
I mean, yeah, you said it. How do you have a character like this and then hit the bullseye so well? I mean, the fact that she represents these things, you know, as somebody who is, you know, deaf, hard of hearing, and an amputee and Native American, and then on top of it, she can perform.
Yes.
Like I don't know, shoot, what a flex, what a find. Like, I'm very excited to see what and where she goes next. Not just like, obviously, I'd like to see more Echo, and I'm very excited to see, you know, how they've sort of used Echo to like build up this world of kind of subconscious connections to magic and really power, cool, like, you know, the ancestral plane, all that stuff. But I mean, I'm you're really making me think too with your remarks earlier. I think
sorry.
I mean, I agree with you. I think too, like, you know, I always try to think of like what the reason for those are, like, and I'm imagining that maybe there was a version of this that everybody really liked that was like a very stripped down movie, and
maybe
that they wanted to extrude it a little more, use the TV show as more of a launching platform for this new character they were excited about. Like, I don't know, it definitely feels, the more I think about it, the more sort of like froggy it feels that they were cutting and dicing. But yeah, back to Alakwa Cox. You know, I can't wait to see what she does outside of Marvel. Like, where does she go next? Because she's got so much going for her.
Yeah, the thing that is the reason why this show, like, if you didn't have her, to me, like a lot of the kind of issues that I was having with the plot, or at least just not necessarily the plot. I understood the math and everything. I think it's just more about the execution of it. And I think it's all just because they were chopping it together. It doesn't, if you don't have her, the whole thing falls apart, because she's able to carry so much in her face and her eyes. And that scene references already the scene with her grandmother, and the grandmother's talking to her, and she, this moment she starts crying, and it's like, there's so much weight that she holds. And then on top of it, something we haven't mentioned either, on top of all the stuff that she has that, like, quote unquote, ticks the boxes, like, add in the fact that she hits all of her representation pieces, but she also, is a good actor. She's also, like, doing a lot of her own stunts, is, like, really skilled, and is just, like, as a performer, gosh darn it, it was just wonderful. And there was that scene, and I want to talk about this scene too. You mentioned it, the powwow scene. It was incredibly powerful, just for many reasons. The reasons of just being able to have it on television on Disney Plus, being watched by millions of people, fantastic. But the way it's shot, the rhythm to the way the people are walking and the way the drums are going, and then having the shot kind of intercut to that rhythm. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful stuff. Like when she was kind of in the line, kind of moving with them, and it's like, and she's in rhythm, and that just shows to me like you like for a second maybe forget that like she can't hear, but she can't hear and she's still doing it. Like that to me is just a strength as to who she was as a performer, and I mean it was a little on the nose, but I even liked when in the powwow scene where the overhead shot had them in a spiral. It was a little on the nose, but I was like, I don't care, I'm here for it. That stuff was great.
I really, there is something too about, watching, connecting to her as the character. And in that moment when that entire lineage of ancestors are there with her. And then she shares that,
Fun stuff,
she really puts something out there with her presence. And then I gotta tell you, I got a little jazzed up. I was like pumped when when the power went into everybody else's hands. I went like, oh shit,
Fun
yeah,
stuff, man.
Pardon my
Yeah.
French,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I did get, I got a little wee-weed up. I got,
that stuff is super fun. And I wrote this in the show notes in terms of like power scaling. I don't know what this, then forgive me because I haven't read a ton of Echo from the comics, and I don't know how much of this is part of her kind of ethos as a character. I love it if that's how it's going to be moving forward. And the fact that I think I wrote in the show notes, she's kind of an earthbound mantis, that she has this kind of power now to connect to the emotional core of people's motivations was really fascinating. I wish there was another thing that I wanted more of from this show was Fisk going like, what did you do to me? What did you do to me? I found that to be just incredibly compelling, but we didn't get any more of it. I would have loved to have known what he really did do to her, because we don't really know what she did to him, she kind of disarmed him, but
if she takes away that animating trauma, then maybe he can't be a vicious killer anymore, which explains the post-credit where he's like, he's going to be the mayor because he knows he doesn't have this, he's fixed now, which maybe he was somebody who was avoiding fixing his thing forever because it made him powerful. But I am always a big fan of a non-traditional ending. 99.9 repeating of all properties are, we're going to punch the guy to death, destruction, unconsciousness, or whatever, like violent methodology of defeat. And when somebody can just come up with the better argument, or, I loved in What If when T'Challa, he's out there in the universe and he's such a bright light that he fixes Thanos. It didn't have to be an Infinity War.
Yes.
But I like the idea that
let's connect as human beings, because we all have trauma.
Yes.
We all have shared experiences.
And I've thought for a long time too, that the only real true fitting punishment for a terrible crime, because we don't have a prison system that fixes people, and we can argue that prison doesn't fix people. But if we had some kind of laser we could fire into somebody's brain and make them feel the proper amount of guilt, shame, compassion for the victim, any of that stuff, really feel how poorly they should feel for what they did, then that would be the real true punishment. You really can't jail someone into betterment or to really get your pound of flesh from them.
Yeah, because there has to be some level of remorse if there's going to be any sort of change. That's a really good point. I'm fascinated to see how this is going to work for Fisk. He's going to be running for mayor, obviously, in the Daredevil show. I think that's where we're going now, which I think is
right.
I mean, I feel like that's something that happened in the comics. Doesn't he run for president in the comics? I feel like that does happen.
Everybody's always, there's always. I love the long running inference in comic books that whenever a bad guy wants to go straight, they just go into politics. Like Lex Luthor did it, There's
because
just
that would
always
never
an avenue.
That would never happen in U.S. politics. So
No,
there is
never.
I mean, it's hard, but I mean, I'll speak on that. I mean, it's hard not to, when you think of like Fisk running for New York mayor, it's hard to not think of Trump. Like it's not going to, I mean, I wouldn't, if Marvel is smart, they would lean into that a little bit and use some of that, like, have him standing in front of, just borrow the fonts and borrow the imagery, the graphics, and which have it say Fisk instead of, Trump. It's very close. Speaking of somebody who could probably walk into Fifth Avenue, he probably has walked down to Fifth Avenue and shot somebody.
But I don't know that you and I personally could handle the amount of satisfaction we would feel from a blind New York lawyer just beating the ever-loving tar out of a Trump totem for 3 episodes in a Disney Plus show.
That would be it would be very cathartic. That really, really would be. I love that.
Hot cocoa under a blanket, kind of.
I want that.
I love nothing more than curling up on a rainy day and watching a fascist get punched. I
want that for us. Well, let's talk about Fisk for a second, because Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, there was a point in this show where he was, I think it was during that scene when Alakwa Cox, when Echo was showing him his childhood and how his father was beating his mother and how tormenting that was to him. And he had this moment, and I was looking at him and I was like, God, I had this like reflection on his career. Like, to have him start kind of his first big role in Full Metal Jacket and that character, Private Pile, and all the things that he's played, he's gone from like character actor to like kind of gone to like only playing bad guys. And now he's at this point where his career is taking this big swing towards the back end, and now bringing him back to play this character that he really just seems like he just relishes in playing. I mean, you know what I mean? It seems like he loves doing this.
Yeah, I think if they came to my house and said, "Hey, we're gonna let you be in a Marvel movie and a TV show, but there's a catch. You got to eat a lot of pasta." I'm like, "Come on, what are we doing? Sign me up."
You got to eat a lot of pasta. How do you feel about eating ice cream at 11 p.m. every day?
And then I have to say I like it, but I have to say it around a mouthful of ice cream.
Yeah. Oh, good.
I think it's okay.
Because I feel like, if you watch that first season of Daredevil, I don't feel like the plan was to have him ever come back. You know what I mean? I feel like they intended for every season to have its own self-contained bad guy, but he was so good. And season 2 bad guy was basically the Punisher, who ends up being a good guy. There, sort of. That Punisher, he operates in the gray area, man. Frank Castle.
What a name. He's good too hard. He's good too hard.
Frank Castle. Hi. Somebody walks in and gives you that name in a bar. You're like, get out of here, man.
This is
a fake ID. Frank Castle's not a real name.
Frank Castle? I just imagine somebody always with a vein bulging out of their forehead.
Like, they're trying to come up with that name. They're like, I don't know. What are we naming this guy? I don't know. Frank what? I don't know. And then Stan Lee looks up at a picture of a castle and is like, Castle. Just name him Frank Castle. Okay, moving on.
Goes, Excelsior! And he disappears. They're gonna name him Steve Towers. And they're like, no, I can't do that.
Johnny Cottage.
Robert Big House? Can we do Robert Big House?
What is that? I'm starting to go down off the deep end. I couldn't think of the word. I was trying to think of a specific type of house, and I wasn't coming to me fast enough. Johnny
Cottage was pretty strong, dude.
Johnny Cottage is pretty good, but I wanted to go. What's the kind of house? It's not a Tudor style home. It's not a Cape Cod style home. It's like what are the types of houses?
You got a geodesic dome, igloo.
Timmy, I love this. Timmy Tudor, great suggestion. Alliteration always works in your comic book characters.
You always
Timmy
get, you
Tudor.
always get me with some alliteration. Yeah, Timmy Tudor.
So good. No, but I feel like Vincent D'Onofrio was so good that they just brought him back to be the bad guy in the third season, and now just to have him rolling around the MCU is fun, man. I want to see him with people. I mean, obviously he's not a Kang level bad. He's probably the ultimate street level bad guy that you can have, because he's big and strong, but he's also well connected, tons of money. Like that's how you're gonna be a big bad guy in a street level superhero story, because you don't have superpowers, but you're also not trying to take over Hell's Kitchen. You're not trying to take over the world, you know?
Right. It's not the multiverse. But it is that scale of stakes. You know, Hell's Kitchen is the world to somebody.
Absolutely.
And I think, I think that's what part of what makes Kingpin interesting is that, you know, he does have all of that power, you know, through his criminal empire, politically or whatever. But you get down to the man, and like, you can't beat him either, because he's enormously strong and powerful. Like it's a really, I think you're right. It's a really kind of a perfect street level character to fight.
Yeah, and he's called Kingpin, and which is like a name. I think they did a good job of this in the Marvel show too. It's like no one really that's the thing that's too great about, I think, most recent comic book content is they're not like, they usually, people don't go by their names. You know, they always go by their first names. They don't go by their character name. But to say that like people would call Fisk the Kingpin is not out of bounds, because he is this like crime lord, crime boss. It's literally like a description of his character. So it works really, really well. And he's obviously going to be in Daredevil Born Again. He's going to be in, they said, I think Eric Voss was conjecturing maybe even Thunderbolts, which that would be super fun. Why not?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I was going to say, go ahead. You say it, then I have something to say. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think it makes sense. As a politically powerful villain, you know, the mayor of New York City, that whole Thunderbolts thing is about villains becoming heroes or being seen as heroes. I think it's perfect. Yeah,
I was going to say, just watching Harrison Ford chopping it up with Vincent D'Onofrio in a scene would just be spectacular.
Oh, yeah. And Harrison Ford will have the exact same look on his face as Bill Murray in that production still from the two Ghostbusters.
Did you watch the Emmys this past weekend?
Off and on, yes.
Do you see when Anthony Anderson's mom was like, "Oh, I got like Harry Ford sitting right in front of me." She called him Harry Ford. I was like, I'm sure he absolutely loved that.
By the way, I loved her. And the entirety of the ceremony and the approach to hosting, what a complete like 180 from the fucking Golden Globes, pardon my French. And how,
oh my God, Joe Coy, come on,
snidely that whole thing was, you know, that lost me so bad. It was so poorly put together, and the Emmys were just so fun, every single part of it. And Anthony Anderson's mom is an absolute pro, because the first thing that happens with one of these things is the person doesn't know when the bit's supposed to end, but she on it every single time.
When John Oliver got up there and was like, I'm definitely waiting. I'm going to keep talking until I get played off by Anthony Anderson's mom. So I'm going to start by reading off the full roster of Liverpool Football Club. I was like, yes. In goal. I was like, yes. Oh, she's not here. Oh, I'm just going to keep going. Incredible stuff. It's really good. Really good stuff.
Tremendous.
Speaking of good stuff, Alex, who's your big winner from these 3 episodes of Echo?
I mean, I think I'm going to go back to me being the big winner, because, you know, I get to live in a world where it was economically viable and feasible for Disney to make an Echo TV series. You know, like I continue to pick beautiful roses from this garden that's growing around me. You know, like that it included that beautiful fight scene at the beginning with Daredevil and all that stuff. Like, it's cool. I've always been interested in that character Echo since the very beginning of her origin. I thought it was such an interesting counterpoint to Daredevil, and I think I'm the big winner. Sorry.
Nobody else. I'm gonna go. Gosh, I feel like there's so many to choose from. I would say representation is a winner. I would say the whole Choctaw Nation is like a big winner from this. I'm still gonna go back to Alakwa Cox. I just thought this is a real Star Tours. This is a real Star Tours.
This is a real Star Tours.
This is a star turn for her. And I just wish and hope and T's and P's that Hollywood doesn't feel like that she can only do deaf, indigenous, disabled roles. Like, I want Hollywood, I challenge them to be forward thinking, to be bold, and to let this actor, this talented performer, do stuff. Let her do stuff, and don't just think that there's because. And it's no reason why this character that you've written, who speaks, can't be deaf. Just think about it. And I challenge writers too to think about that kind of stuff. To think about and explore those kinds of things. Alex, who's the big? I mean, I don't even know why I even bothered to ask this. Big loser. I mean.
You know, it's
I went, because there was a part of me for a second there where I forgot about Sam's book because it's been so long since we've seen it. And that's why I was like, oh wait, I know who the big loser is. It's us. It's all of us, because Kevin Feige refuses to put Sam Wilson's shrimping boat. I don't care if this is a Marvel spotlight. I get it. Whatever. You had somebody say Madripoor at some point. There's no reason why, oh, hey, new shipment came in from the docks, and they could be moving in some Fisk ammunitions, and in the background just a little doot doot.
Yep.
Is that a shipment boat over there?
And Bucky and Sam's sister just having it in the most biblical way on the foredeck. It's. I think Kevin's afraid of the potential power that this imagery represents, and I think maybe with something like Echo, there's probably a lot on the line in terms of, hey, like you said, representation. And you maybe if, the fan-controlled fandom army finally has their wish granted and you see the shrimping boat, everything else is kind of lost, that there is nothing else. And now, we're not focused on Alakwa. We're not focused on Graham Greene. We're not focused on the beautiful imagery we're presented with. We're talking about our favorite shrimping barge. So I hate to say I get it, but I mean I have to search for something, some kind of reason.
I hear you, and that's definitely a reason. I'll give you that reason. Since we're in this kind of corner, I also, because we were at I was at Galaxy's Edge this week, I also want to reiterate, since I know Disney's watching, please cast Tamura Morrison as live action Omega. Just do it, you cowards. Just do it. You're not making season 2 of Book of Boba Fett. I'm sure you're going to put him in. I'm sure you'll have his character be in Dave Filoni's movie, but so that means the guy needs work. They're not making another Aquaman movie, so he's not going to be in that. Cast him as live action Omega. Do it, you cowards. Alex, do we have another ad read?
We do. The University of Los Angeles Human Labs trying to build a better future with and on and in you. They have some of the studies that you can sign up to participate in. They have a stress study during which participants will be shown various digital media and their physiological responses measured. Warning, study involves the application of medical grade genital electrodes. So that's just upfront. There's a study in the gerontological medicine department. Yeah, for transparency. The gerontological medicine department, they specifically want to speak with married couples between 65 and 80 years old, so they can hook them up with medical grade genital electrodes. And they're launching a social experiment too in parapsychology, which is the city is making us say that this is a Stanford experiment, but we are of course going to hook your woo-woo up to a whole mess of car batteries. So that's some of the studies you can sign up for to participate in the University of Los Angeles Human Labs.
I love that disclaimer there of it being a Stanford study. Stanford has a rich history of their experiments not going awry, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I was just saying, go to Wikipedia and look up Stanford prison experiment, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Alex, you know what time it is now?
Oh, it's one of my favorite times of the week.
I
got
say,
real pelvy with that one, Kenny. I haven't gotten real pelvy on one of these before.
It's a real wish of
pelvy.
mine. You know, since we brought the podcast live to streaming on Twitch and across all social media platforms that allow you to stream on, it's always been a real dream. One of my favorite parts of it is like I always hope that somebody like clicks on to see what the show's all about at just the moment when we play the game times theme, and it's like, oh, what's this fan control? What's this broadcasting on the fan controlled TV sports and entertainment feed? Let me see what it is here. It's called fan controlled fandom, and then you click on it, and it's just you and I going to the theme. Like if we could get to that at some point, that'd be a dream. That's squad goals right there. Hashtag squad goals. All right, you ready for the game?
Let's do it.
My game. It's my game, and I promise this does not involve goofy names. Okay.
Okay.
I'm taking a break for those for at least just 1 week. All right. As previously mentioned, I did go to Disneyland on Wednesday, and I did have the time of my life in Galaxy's Edge. One of the things that I was greatly impressed with was not just the attention to detail in aesthetics, but also attention to detail in merch, which leads us to the game Galaxy's Edge of Reason. Stupid. The game is simple. I'm going to name a piece of merchandise, and you have to tell me if this is available at Galaxy's Edge. You ready?
I'm ready.
Plo Koon's lightsaber.
Yes.
Yes, it is. It's available in the like Dax bric-a-brac. Ahsoka's poncho.
Yes.
Yes, it is. You can get Ahsoka's poncho. I was tempted, and then I saw the price tag. I was like, nope. All right. Number 3, Luke and Leia's incestuous Hershey Kisses.
What are they, Hershey's? I'm gonna say that those are not an item you can buy at Galaxy's Edge.
They are not there. No, Luke and Leia's incestuous Hershey Kisses. They're not there. How about a shoulder attaching Grogu? Grogu you can put on your shoulder and walk around with.
Yeah, I think they do that.
Yes, they do have that. That's number 4. Number 5, full Hera costume complete with dad ass.
oh God! If only wishes made it so. I don't think the Hera has a gat on there. I don't think.
Yes, as the kids say. Yeah, no, that's not a real thing. All right, number 6, Lando Calrissian's cape. He laid on the floor so he could somehow have sex with L337.
Yes,
that's Lando Calrissian's cape. He laid on the floor so he could somehow have sex with L337. Oh, no, that's not there.
That one, the horny cape. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
The horny cape. Well, he laid it down because she's metal, so it's got to be hard on the ground for her. Anyway, number 7, Shmi Skywalker Home Immaculate Conception Kit.
Sorry, yes, I'm just in my mind thinking what would be in a kit to help you. Anyway, because I don't think.
Quick reminder: Anakin Skywalker does not have a father. He is a Jesus allegory.
I don't think that the at-home birth kit.
No, it's not
real.
It's not there. How about Padawan Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus, lightsaber?
Yes, I think they have that.
Yes, they do have that. How about number 9? Harrison Dula's head laku, complete with the disclaimer, please note that in order to make Jason, Kanan did not do the business with Hera's top legs.
Oh, shit.
Oh, you're welcome.
Pardon my French. I'm sorry. I don't think that's an item that they sell there.
It's not. You don't. You don't. You can't get Harris and Dula's head Leku complete with the disclaimer. Please note that in order to make Jason, Kanan did not do the business with Harris top legs. Number 10, blue milk.
Yes, you can get that.
Number 11, green milk.
I think you can get that too.
Yes, you can. Number 12, Thala Siren udders that you can use to drink your blue or green milk, as Luke did on Octo.
Oh, I don't think they have that. It's disgusting.
Oh, that's gross. And that was fantastic. You're welcome, everybody.
Oh my God, that was a barn burner, man.
You're welcome. It all started with Luke and Leia's incestuous Hershey kisses. Yeah, that's right. It sounds like I do have enough ideas for a naughty Star Wars shop. That's basically what I'm soft pitching. That's what I'm giving a soft pitch for, as an adults-only Star Wars shop, because I'll tell you what, I would make a killing. So what's next?
You don't want to know what all the lightsabers wind up being shaped like.
Hey-o, Hoopla recommendations are up next, and Hoopla, of course, is the website. It's a website. You can download the app on your phone. You can put a bunch of information. You can find and read digital comics, including a bunch of Echo comics. I gave some recommendations last week. Alex, do you have a recommendation for the folks?
I do. As soon as the Hoopla app fires up, once again, the main recommendation is that you get a library card and start using the digital assets that your library has available for free to you on the Hoopla app.
I will jump on that. Oh, apparently the adult Star Wars store already exists. I'm sorry, I Googled. Yes.
Oh,
I'm sure. I can't. Yeah, I can't imagine we've made it. Almost 50 years into the canon and no one has done that yet.
I'm gonna say download DC's first issue specials. It looks like it's got a bunch of wackadoodle Kirby stuff in it, a bunch of wackadoodle Dr. Fate stuff in it, the Creeper. It looks like a Bronze Age wackadoodle Lollapalooza. So you go ahead and get that on your Hoopla. It's DC's first issue specials.
I love a wackadoodle Lollapalooza. I was going to say, too, a little known, not well advertised fact, I don't know. If you're somebody who is trying to be earth conscious, having a library card, it's there, the three, when you see a recycling thing, it's usually the three arrows. It's not, that doesn't mean recycling. Those are the three pillars in green living. I don't know what the actual title, but it's reduce, reuse, recycle. And by getting your books from a library, you are doing the reuse part. Therefore, we do not need to chop down a bunch of trees to create paper to make books, although I think they make paper synthetically and not have to use trees, but still. Reuse, baby. Reuse and watch it digitally.
Yeah. A couple of things too. In Los Angeles, the library is very you can rent out bike repair kits and different things from the main library. It's very, very useful. And also, if you're somebody who you're not getting enough breathed in old people smell, the library is definitely a place that you can avail yourself of that too in person.
Yeah, if you want to see somebody taking forever to type something into Google, go to your library. You'll definitely see it.
If you want to see an old man take a picture of a naked Japanese cartoon on a computer screen with his phone, go to the library.
That's 100% true. And it's ironically, my Hoopla recommendation is a manga.
Oh boy, Kenny, you've lost
tons. I know there's tons and tons of manga on Hoopla. There's so much, and I read my first. Well, I've read some Knights of the Zodiac. I read Attack of the Titan, Volume 1. Holy moly! What an unbelievable. This is a show, the anime show just ended, the final season. What an super interesting story. It's basically like humans, these titans that look like man without their skin on. It's like a bunch of sinewy muscles. These giants just show up on the earth and start eating people. There's no reason as to what. And so mankind has created these certain levels of fortresses that they maintain humanity in, and then every so often a titan comes and like destroys it, and they have to go back and they have to keep working their way back to different levels that they've previously built, that they have to rebuild society. It's super fascinating, super compelling, well written. The artwork is fantastic. Highly recommend. And I've already started watching the anime, and that's great too. Anywho, we got one more ad read. Check it out. I highly recommend. It might be a little scary for you, just a heads up.
Okay, I'll watch it like this on a park bench.
I'll tell you what's genuinely creepy is these Titan guys. Like, you know, when you take off the skin face, you know, you can see the teeth. They have teeth that go like all the way to here, and that's a little freaky looking.
I've seen.
So you might be a little scared. Oh, it's great. It's really
I'll hold hands with my wife while I watch it. I think that'll be okay for me.
I love that for both of you. Do we have one more ad read from our sponsor?
The University of Los Angeles Human Labs. They're building a better future with you, on you, and in you. They want you to enjoy our new shooting range and 24-hour shrimp buffet. And they also have an allergy study. Do you suffer from chronic allergies? Do you also have a real, clean, government-issued ID that the pharmacist doesn't look crosswise at? If you haven't been turned away for trying to buy Sudafed in bulk, but aren't closed to the proposition, we're looking for you. And lastly, they want to announce a bold new sex study. You'll arrive hoping for an A, but you might leave with a D. See Professor Rowley at the end of the shrimp buffet. So those are
at the end of the shrimp shrimp buffet.
His office is right back there. So that's University of Los Angeles Human Labs, building a better tomorrow with you, on you, and in you.
Why is there a shrimp buffet in a human lab?
Science is hungry work, man.
Yeah, work up an appetite, putting D's on people. Oh my God. That first study I need, because I got to tell you, again, pretty sure I have some form of long COVID. What's really tough about it is the heightened histamines, man. It's like I'm always having allergies. It super sucks. And I would love to have that over-the-counter Sudafed all the time. Give it to me, Human Labs, University of Los Angeles. Before we get out of here, Alex, what did your dogs think of the last 3 episodes of Echo?
Millie, I looked down when Echo was when Maya was having her big, like, here's all my heritage moment. Like, Millie was standing on the couch and like with her chest out, and it looked like a breeze picked up. She felt very empowered, and that was cool to see.
I love when Millie feels seen. My dog was sleeping in the living room, so that means she was into it. I want to give a quick shout out to my dog. She has to have a tooth taken out next week, and we learned this because I had to take her to the doggy ER last Friday because she was bleeding profusely from her mouth, and we pretty much knew it was a tooth, but we were like, she's bleeding everywhere, we probably should take her to the ER. And we paid a lot of money for us to sedate her to tell us that it's a tooth. But so she's getting a tooth out next week, so maybe she was wanting to get in as much QT before she has to go get that tooth taken out. That's why she watched the whole show with me.
Hey, God bless her. God bless you. A little bit of extra scratches behind the ear for her from me.
I will. It was super fun when you get to check into the doggy ER and your dog is dripping blood on the floor.
If nothing else, it might motivate them to move her along a little faster. Get her.
They did. It was like I was starting to like fill out paperwork, and I was like, I'm sorry, she's dripping a lot of blood. And they were like, oh, okay. Like we'll take her up. They just like grabbed her and went away, and I was like, of course, thank you very much for doing that. Thank you, Alex, for doing this. We did it. Another episode.
We did it. We always do it.
Stellar episode. Where can the folks find you?
At Duke_midnight, MIDNITE on Threads, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, and wherever major magazines are sold.
Kenny G. Stevenson on Threads. No, not on Threads. TikTok and Twitch. I'm committed to putting more content on both of those platforms as soon as next week. Get also Kenny G. Donut King on Instagram. I'm also going to promise I put more content on it. I'm going to just be posting more content because I've not been posting anything because holidays and easy breezy start to January. New year, new me.
I'll tell you who's having a dry January is me, who's been dry of your content.
Oh, and it's not gonna get much better than that. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back. We'll be back next week. Alex and I are going to a special screening on Monday of a movie, classic anime movie, Cowboy
Ding
Bebop.
Dong. No, what'd you say?
Yes, Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. That's right.
So if you want to be on board with us while we talk about it's a 20-year-old, might be more than 20-year-old animated film. It might be 30-year-old, right? An older anime film. You've got a week to find it or pirate it off torrent or your favorite torrent site and follow along. And we're going to talk about how Sam Wilson's boat is not in that either.
Right. We'll figure a way out. You'll see.
We'll figure a way out. You'll see. That's it. I feel like threatening the audience on the way out is the way to go.
Your days are numbered.
You got a Disneyland point, though. You can't point. Disneyland, you got to point with 2 fingers. 2 fingers. That's the thing. We're going to go out on this.
Everybody watching this broadcast, your days are numbered.
And on that, thanks for watching, everybody.